Hey, and welcome to Friday. So today I don't really have too much to talk about, so I'm going to try and tackle Ben and Eddie's questions from this week. So, Eddie, you were talking about translation, and you brought up a couple of points on using translation as a way to learn. I kind of agree, and I kind of disagree. So, I agree in the sense that forcing yourself to encounter material that's beyond your level, like when you went to Peru and you were surrounded by it and you got that motivation or that desire to start interpreting, even though your level wasn't quite there yet. I mean, that motivation really helps. And the other thing is, once you start translating or interpreting, you're still probably not at the level you need to be. And so, just by the act of interpreting or translating, you're going to be forcing yourself to think a lot faster than you would if you're interpreting. And for translating, you're going to be having a cat walk all over the bed. And for translating, you're probably going to be looking a lot of stuff up, which is going to internalize it because after you look it up 50 times, you will probably remember it. At least I am hoping, because otherwise I'm going to die this term. Reasons I don't necessarily agree with you for it being the best method, I guess, would be you have to consider as a job what the limitations will be. So, as a job, translating a book, you're going to be limited by your publisher. I mean, you can do all of the translation and have your draft and send it to a publisher, but depending on the publisher you choose, they're going to dictate how your translation looks. And I guess that goes for anything in print, but I don't know. As a writer, I have an issue with people criticizing or changing what I am allowed to do. For example, if you were to translate a work of Spanish or German literature to a popular press, so like Knopf, they tell me that's how they pronounce it. I thought it was Knopf, but so there's that. And so for a popular publisher, it's going to be limited by the number of footnotes you have. And if it's an academic publisher, they're going to want things explained. You're going to have to identify your audience and figure out various things. For interpreting, I looked into medical interpreting and ultimately decided against it because even though as an interpreter you will know most of what is going on from both sides, the patient may not want you to communicate everything to the doctor, and the doctor may not want to answer some of the patient's questions. And it's just a very sticky situation. So I would just think very carefully about what area of translating or interpreting you want to go into. I think tourism would be really great because then you're getting people who are excited to visit whatever area you are in. I think that's pretty cool. And yeah. So I agree and I don't agree. Translating is great, but there are downsides. And part of it is you have no life when you are translating on a deadline, but that's another story. So Ben's question was about culture, and do you learn the main culture or do you focus on a subculture, and how do you decide that? I've been exposed to Japanese for 12 years now, and I would agree for the most part I was taught traditional Japanese culture, so the mainstream, the people in power of Japanese culture for the most part in the classroom. Outside of the classroom, I've met people from Osaka, people from Hiroshima. I haven't met too many people from Okinawa, but I do study Okinawan culture as well as the Ainu. I'm not sure yet what they prefer to call themselves because I haven't met one that I know of. And I would prefer to get that from a person as opposed to from an internet forum where anybody can say whatever they want, because I found that that's not always true. So I would say when you're starting out learning the language, figure out the main culture and from there work your way into the subcultures, if that makes sense. So figure out what the main culture is, and that will allow you to identify what the subcultures are. With Germany and Austria, it's very obvious that there are two cultures there, and that North and South Germany are very different as well. I am aware of that. And I am aware of that because my teacher was not German. My teacher was an American who went over there to teach English and ended up stationed in various different regions and got to know about the different cultures and shared it with her students. So that was kind of cool. For Chinese as well, I had a more varied exposure to the different cultures. I mean, for one thing, China is huge, and there are the 56 recognized minority groups, though I've heard people say 57, and I'm not sure who the 57th is right now. But I mean, you get a very different perspective on Chinese history when you have a teacher from Taiwan. And yeah, thanks to Tumblr, I have friends in a couple different regions. I actually have a almost friend on Tumblr from Malaysia who I just want to talk her ear off about culture in Malaysia, and I'm just not brave enough to do it. So there's that. And I'm at 6.5 minutes. So yeah, I mean, translating is really exciting and cool. Last minute update from me. I am finally balanced with school, just in time for midterms. Yay for the quarter system. Questions for you guys. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to squeeze in my sub-languages now that my entire focus is on Japanese. And I still love Japanese, but having nothing but Japanese is getting a little bit difficult for me because my brain is not engaged enough. I need to be, I don't know, I need different focal points. I need to bounce my head back and forth. And I ran into my old Laoshi last week, and she asked me in Chinese if I was going to class, and I said no. And then I didn't know how to tell her I was going to lunch, which is something you learn in probably your first month of Chinese lessons. So clearly I need to get my Mandarin back because it's going very quickly. I will talk to you all next week. Annyeong!